My name is Inshira Ado, and on behalf of the entire team at Multimedia and the Joy Thought Leadership Unit, I'd like to welcome you to the third Joy Debate. And if you've been to any of the Joy Debates, you'll know you're in for one of the most intellectually stimulating evenings of your life. And tonight, the motion is a very simple one, that Ghana's 40-year development plan is not feasible. We have one gentleman who, passionate about Ghana, will be arguing for the motion that it's, in a way, a waste of our time. And there's another gentleman who will argue that it isn't, and that there's a lot of good in it. And if we all can rally behind it and push it, all shoulders to the wheel, we can turn this country's fortunes around. The Joy Debate platform is a part of the thought leadership unit of the multimedia group, particularly Joy FM. Why thought leadership? We believe that for a lot of things to change, and we've had a lot of people talk about how mindsets need to change and all of those things. The mind, thinking, thought, mind, they're all in the same space. And if we can lead, as we have led with Sterling Broadcast over the last 20 years, then we can also contribute to the shaping of this nation's destiny by creating a platform where the best of minds can come together and, as it were, powwow about issues that affect you and I, and get us walking away with new insights and new thoughts about things. After all, it took a couple of people to say, can we get over the water to the other side, for that very long journey to happen from Europe to the New World. So we can do our own over here. So welcome once again to the third Joy Debate. Today's debate is a very interesting one. It places Ghana's development agenda right center stage and under the periscope. Our motion is simply Ghana's 40-year development plan or agenda is not feasible. We'll have Kofi Bentil, Vice President of Imani Ghana, speaking for the motion that the 40-year development agenda is not feasible. Speaking against the motion, and rightly so, is Professor Agyeman Badu Akosa, who is a commissioner of the National Development Planning Commission. They put the plan together. So, of course, it would be appropriate to hear him speak in favor of it. But the essence of tonight's engagement is that we all walk away with new insights, that we all walk away with challenging thoughts, things that would ask us very hard questions, that when we wake up in the morning and we stand in front of our mirrors, we'll peel that mask that we walk around town with and ask ourselves the questions, what are we doing to contribute to Ghana's own development? There will be facts shared, there will be arguments made for either side of the motion. But this is not about me, so let me hurry up and leave the stage. I'm going to introduce to you the moderator for the night. It's Professor Kojo Ewusi. Now, Professor Ewusi was educated at Apam Secondary School, where he graduated top of his class. In fact, he was adjudged the Scholar of the Year in 1957. So just about the time that we were turning, becoming a republic or gaining our independence, there was someone graduating from school with, high honors. He then went to Prempeh College for his advanced level, then passed the Cambridge Higher Certificate Education with distinction in 1960, and continued to Columbia University in New York, where he studied for his bachelor's and master's and doctoral degrees in economics. Wow. Now, so you did economics at O-level, A-levels, then you went to university, did the master's, bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. I don't think there's anyone more qualified to moderate this evening's conversation, because really at the heart of development is economics and how resources can equitably be distributed to bring about the development we're looking for. He was dean on the Dean's Honor Roll throughout his undergraduate studies. He received the Howard Bain Scholar Award for Outstanding Academic Performance in the School of General Studies in 1966, at which time I don't think my own parents had met. Professor Ewusi also served as an econometrician And for those of you, I Googled it earlier this afternoon because it was new to me, but there's a part of economics that uses mathematics to explain how policies and things generally work in that space. And he served also for organizations like IBM in their corporate headquarters in Amonk, the Bankers Trust Company in New York, and also did some work with the Institute of Statistical and Social Economic Research, and that was in 1973. Fast forward, he's offered consultancy services to the World Bank, the ILO, the FAO, UNCTAD, UNESCO, UNDP, CODESIRIA, and UNRSID, IFAD, and IDEP, UNICEF, the Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation. I could bore you all night with his achievements. I think when he speaks, you'll understand why I've taken my time to take all these, give you all this list. And I'm even abridging this. There was a long chain of accomplishments, and I think that for a man who has lived and will be, I believe, 75 pretty soon, in about a week, he's seen enough of Ghana as it has been and can tell us or draw very good parallels from the arguments that Kofi Bentil and Professor Bedu Akosa will be making. So with a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our moderator for the evening, Professor Kojo Ewusi.
Thank you very much, Inshira, for that introduction. I've always enjoyed your program in the mornings, and it's good to see you in person. Of course, I've met Kojo upon Nkrumah before. He's interviewed me about 3 times. So I'm very much at home with you. I thank you for giving me the honor to chair this occasion, and I can say that indeed I feel very much attached to this because my first book was on economic development planning in Ghana. I wrote that in 1972. So I've been following the development plans. So let me make 3 observations which will be important for our discussion. The first is that Ghana has had a long history of planning. In fact, Ghana is reputed to be the first country in the world to formulate and implement a development plan. In 1920, the then governor, Governor Goggisberg, drew up a 10-year development plan to be implemented between 1920 and 1930. This plan was costed at £24 million. At that time, the pound was $2.8, so that would be roughly about $65 million at that time. Now, he was able to carry through his plan for 7 years, and he was transferred from Ghana to British Guiana in 1927. So he didn't really complete it, but much was achieved under that plan. Kolebu Hospital was built, Takoradi Harbour was built, he constructed 3,600 roads, and so many other things. His plan indeed included a hydroelectric plant. So in fact, he had thought about doing so before even we came around. But I say all this because the nation which is known to be the real leader of planning is Russia. And Russia's 5-year development plans were continuous. But these started in the year 1928. In the year 1928, that was when Russia came out with its first plan. So that's the first observation I'll make. Also, Ghana has indeed been planning. Over the past 12 or 13 years, we've had 4 medium-term plans. The first was the Ghana Poverty Reduction Strategy, number 1. That was from 2002 to 2005. Then the Growth and Poverty Reduction Strategy, so that would be GPRS 2. That was from 2006 to 2009. And then the Ghana Shared Growth and Development Agenda. The first one was from 2010 to 2013, and then the second one with the same name is really scheduled for 2014 to 2017. That's the second fact we should know. So, in fact, we are not coming out of the blue about planning. We are the earliest country to start planning. We've had other plans, but I think we should just jump to the present. And when we think of the present, we've had 4 medium-term development plans. Then we should note that indeed, when we speak of the economy of Ghana, we've had very good economic performance from 1984 all the way to 2011. The economy for this long period grew in excess of 5.0% per annum. And the growth was increasing. In fact, I've analyzed it and I find that each decade, the performance is better. But we reached a peak in 2011 with the debut of production of oil from the Jubilee. We experienced a growth of 14.3%. But since then, the growth has decelerated to 8.6 in 2012, 6.5 in 2013, 4.3 in 2014. Is projected to grow to about 3.5% in 2015. So indeed, the economic performance of recent past is of concern. But what I would like to mention is that it should be put in context. Ghana has actually performed very well over 25 years. And this recent dip is of concern. So I think there are several issues being considered, and I think it's good for Joy FM as a means of corporate social responsibility to participate in this educational effort of introducing this 40-year development agenda or 40-year development plan. Indeed, this is one of the long-term strategies which the government has launched, and I think we need to really discuss it, and that is, I think, probably the objective of the government. And for this forum, we have the best people really to educate us on it. I followed the speakers. I think, first, the topic. Let's be quite distant so that we know who is for and who is against. The topic is that Ghana's 40-year development agenda is not feasible. That's the topic. And speaking for the motion will be Mr. Kofi Bentil, Esquire. I've admired his presentations and all that they are doing in terms of their think tank, and I think that's very unique. We all know that he's a lawyer, a lecturer in business strategy, an authority in services marketing and strategy. He has lectured at Ashesi University and the University of Ghana Business School. He also holds many corporate training sessions each year in business strategy and services marketing. Mr. Bentil is Vice President and Policy Analyst with Imani Ghana, a leading think tank in Ghana, voted as the second most influential think tank in Africa. I think that's an honor which Ghana deserves. Let's give him a clap. In 2005, he was honored by the World Bank and partners with the Global Development Marketplace Award, an award recognizing contributions and expertise in entrepreneurship. In 2009, Mr. Bentil was inducted into the Africa Leadership Network, a wing of the Aspen Institute Global Leadership Network. Aspen is in Denver, Colorado, in the United States. Mr. Bentil is active in the technology industry and was a founding executive member of GLASCOM, the Ghana Association of IT Services Companies. Previously, he was Business Development Manager for Enterprise Insurance. His professional interests range from business strategy, ICT, project management. He holds a bachelor's in geography and environment and resource development, an MBA in marketing, a second MBA in think tank management. He also holds a postgraduate LLB from the University of Ghana and the QCL from the Ghana Law School. He has taken various management and professional courses over his professional career. Please, could you join me in welcoming Mr. Kofi Bentil. Now, one of the people I most admire is Professor Agyeman Badu Akosa. I admire him because as a medical doctor and as a scientist, he's always taking over very critical social issues and address these, especially at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. He offered to give a lecture, and the arts people were saying it belongs to arts, but he did such a good work on it. Professor Agyeman Badu Akosa is a medical doctor, a pathologist, academic leader, researcher, and social communicator. He has been a consultant, histopathologist, and clinical director of pathology in the UK, professor and head of Department of Pathology at the University of Ghana Medical School, Director General of the Ghana Health Services, and President of the Ghana Medical Association and Commonwealth Medical Association. He chairs the executive board of the African Population Health Research Center in Nairobi, Kenya. He's the executive chairman of the Child Malnutrition Foundation, Ghana Healthcare and Pensions Limited, and executive director of Healthy Ghana. He's a recipient of the second highest order in Ghana, the Companion of the Order of the Volta. Please. He's a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences and of the Ghana Medical Association. Professor Akosa is a fellow of the Royal College of Pathologists, West Africa College of Physicians, Ghana College of Physicians, and holds an executive master's in governance and leadership from GIMPA. And he serves as an adjunct lecturer in leadership. He's an avowed Nkrumahist. And indeed, I would add that we share two things. Both of us went to Prempeh, and we are both fellows of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Please, could you join me in welcoming Professor Akosa? So with that, I'll give you the format of this debate. We will start with Mr. Bentil Esquire, and he will speak for the motion that Ghana's 40-year development agenda is not feasible. He will speak for 10 minutes, and then we'll go to Professor Akosa. Professor Akosa will speak for 10 minutes. Then we'll go back to the lawyer for another 10 minutes, and then Professor Akosa will follow for 10 minutes. Then we have 20 minutes where I may pose some questions to each of the speakers, And the speakers may also, in fact, direct some questions to them, to each other. That will go on for 20 minutes. After that, we'll open the floor for your comments and your questions also. Then at the end of it, we'll take your votes to see who has been able to persuade you, whether you are convinced that the Ghana's 40-year development plan is feasible, it's not feasible, or whether you agree with Professor Akosa that it is feasible. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a round of applause, let's welcome Mr. Bento.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everybody. I have 10 minutes, so I'll go straight to the point. The topic is simple, and my argument is that no, what we need is a plan, it's a national strategy for development. It must not be 40 years. It can be less, it can be effective, and it has to have other things that make us all rally behind it. It is easy to go for something like a 40-year development plan because we've had 58 or so years, and the biggest cry nationally is that we have not lived up to our expectations in terms of development. Because of that, we look for reasons, and everybody says we need a long-term plan, everybody must work into the long-term plan, manifestos are not the way, etc. But we should be careful in running after the populist sentiment not to repeat the mistakes that we've been making. So like you said, we've had many plans, 13 I've counted. We're a world-champion planner. After Kwame Nkrumah, nobody has been able to achieve any of those plans. Do we need another plan? If you want to solve the problem, as Professor will know as a medical person, you have to diagnose properly. The problem is not plans, it's bad leadership and a failure to follow through with the plans. Part of the reason why we don't follow through with these plans is because the plans are convoluted, they are wrongly couched. A couple of people enter a certain room, believe that a certain set of things are a problem, come up with a whole list of things that we must do and we will do, and they do whatever they want to do. When they are gone, it's gone with them. We should not repeat the same problem. What is a long-term plan anyway? A long-term plan does not have to be 40 years. We don't have 40 years to spend. It's okay to have a vision. Dreaming is free. But planning is where you apply intellect to put together a set of actionable decisions towards a particular goal. And I don't think we should spend time and resource going at it for a 40-year horizon. The problem with this whole idea of 40 years is that immediately somebody tells you I'm going to plan for 40 years, it gives you the idea that they have the wrong mindset. And that is where our problems start. There is something I call the envy list of Ghana. We have a series of countries that we always name when we want to talk about who has left us behind. We talk about Malaysia, we talk about Singapore, we talk about all those other people. And sometimes we include China, Korea, India. Here is an important point to note. They all have dreams. Some of them have 50-year dreams. China has something like a 100-year dream. But check, and thank God for Google, check again. Almost all of them, Korea, China, even today, have a series of 5-year development plans. After every 5 years, they go for the next 5, and then they go for the next 5, and then they go for the next 5. They have a dream. A dream is not a plan. We are purporting to proceed along the lines to craft a 40-year development plan. It is not feasible politically because our political system is not designed to take care of that. What we must change is the paradigm we're operating with, not the political system. It is not feasible economically because nobody can tell how the economy will be in 20 years. 20 years ago, we did not have WhatsApp, we did not have Facebook. 20 years ago, we did not have Twitter. 20 years ago, we did not have broadband in this level. Indeed, a granite seller in Techiman today has better technology than the US President Ronald Reagan had in his time. And that's just a few decades back. Because in this day and age, the pace of development is so fast that it's preposterous to try and reach beyond 20 years. People have tried, and if I have the time, I'll talk to you about some of the people who tried to dream beyond 10, 20 years and how wrong they were. So my point remains, 40-year development plan is not feasible. It's not practical to do. It's not necessary to do. That won't solve the problem because our problem is not planning. It's implementing the plan. And indeed, we can't reach into 40 years. We have presently, as we speak, existential problems confronting us. Existential because we don't deal with them, we would actually die. Just a few months ago, people died in this country because of cholera. What we need to do is to deal with these things, because you know what? If your grandfather had planned your life and how you live it today, your idea of 3D will be watching Uncle Ebo. Okay? Your idea of communication will be posting letters. There is no way they could have contemplated WhatsApp and Twitter and all those things. So you don't want your grandfather to plan your life. What he has to do for you is set a solid foundation and a base upon which you will build. My grandchild does not want me to plan his life. What they want me to do is to set a solid base. We have a country that is struggling with water, with health, with education, with energy, with transport and telecommunications, and we are purporting to plan. I know you will hear things like, oh, the plan intends to have, all these things built in. The plan is going to be cyclical over a number of years and all that kind of thing. It is important, if you are crafting a national plan, to craft it in such simple and clear terms that it resonates with everybody, low or high. The way to do that is to make sure that national plan is simple but powerful. If you go out there today and you tell the average taxi driver that we are going to have a national plan, and this national plan is going to be for 40 years. And this national plan is going to achieve a number of things. And I'm going to read from the speech that President Mahama gave when he was launching this plan. These are the things that he said our national plan was going to achieve. He says it's going to make the economy transformative, inclusive, and resilient. It is going to make our society equitable and tolerant. This plan is designed to make our communities safe and sustainable, make them effective and efficient. If I want to communicate a national plan to somebody whose energies I want to release, I'm going to go like this. We will take 5 years of our time, and we are going to make sure that over the 5-year period, every town and village in Ghana has water. Everybody can go to the hospital. Every child in Ghana will be educated. Over that 5 years, these 3 things are going to be the things that we will focus on to transform this country. Everything else is going to work alongside it, but we will achieve this in 5 years. After the next 5 years, we're going to go on to deal with issues of energy, we'll deal with issues of transport and communications, fix our railways and everything, and we'll deal with issues of broadband so that you can send your text even if you're a farmer. Make it simple. Make it so simple that if somebody gets into a taxi at the airport, like we used to say about the Singaporeans, if you ask any taxi driver, they'll tell you the plan of Lee Kuan Yew. Any taxi driver will tell you that my government is planning for the next 5 years that my village will have water, our children will go to school, and we'll all make sure that we have enough of everything that is fundamental and basic to life. Not 40-year plan cast so wide that we cannot adjust to it. Like I said, we have 13 plans. Guess what? All of them were jettisoned. Because I bet you if we take a vote in this room right now, you will not be able to tell me the things that the Ghana Poverty Reduction Strategy 1 and 2 were trying to achieve. Nor the GSDA 1 and 2 were trying to achieve. They didn't have that power. Because a couple of people locked themselves in the room and came up with a set of things that are supposed to be a national plan. That is why the NDPC is purporting to have this plan binding on political parties. That also won't happen because it's wrong. The plan must have inherent force, such that no political party will be able to depart from it. Because if you do, you will lose the vote. If you were able to convince us in this country that we should pay 5% more VAT, and in the next 5 years, if let's say we repeat it 2-3 times, everybody will get water, health, education, transport and communications, and another party comes and says, let's throw that away, they will lose. They will lose consistently until they adjust to that plan. So my point is, a 40-year development plan, as is being sold now, is the problem, not the solution. What we need is to articulate a set of national strategies to deal with the existential problems that we deal with. In Imani, we've known them for a while. It's what we call WHEAT, W-H-E-E-T-T. Water, health, education, energy, transport, and telecommunications. Make it simple so everybody's energy will be released. To fall behind this, that is what we will achieve. The China and Co that we talk about, Google it now. They all have 5-year cyclical plans. If you implement that 8 times, you get 40. But don't tell me about 40 right now. Thank you.
Mr. Kosa will convince us that the 40-year plan is feasible.
Mr. Moderator, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, all those who are listening to Joy FM. this country is where we are because even though somebody says that we have been planning, few people have sat somewhere and have planned for the people of Ghana. From 1957 to 1966, Ghana grew exponentially in every aspect of life, whether it was infrastructure, whether it was human resource development, whether it was energy, everything, because there was a plan that was implemented. It started, rolled up 2, 5, and we've gotten to 7. Beyond 7, it would have gone further. And in all this, there was a keen eye on implementation. If maybe NDPC had said that we're doing a long-term energy plan that would make sure we never get into doomsday, everybody may be happy. But it is part of the long-term plan. Let me say that. If we had said that we're focusing on education, a long-term educational plan that will make our education the envy of not only West Africa, but Africa and beyond, maybe nobody would have complained. But somehow we seem to think that we can't do 2 things at the same time. It's almost like, who was it who told President Gerald Ford that you can't do 2 things at the same time? We can. What NDPC has stated is that we are looking at a 40-year development plan. But in the launch, the president came and gave his views. That was not the views of NDPC. What did NDPC decide to do? That there is no plan as of the launch, but we're going to the people of this country. We're not sitting, a few people, commissioners sitting in NDPC and writing a plan for this country. We want to talk to the taxi driver. What does the taxi driver want to see this country become? We're 58. In proper settings, your next big bang is when you're 100. And therefore you say, let's look at a plan that sees Ghana, in a very overarching way, Ghana at 100. Many countries have done that. Somehow, it's very easy to sit and think that every country does a 5-year, and we've done 5-year rolling plans, plenty. But as he said, it's implementation. We realize that. We recognize that. In saying that this is a 40-year development plan, it's not saying it's binding, but we're saying every political party look at it, and certainly you can look at all our manifestos. They don't differ. They don't differ. It's just tweaking words here, cut and paste, cut and paste. That is what we do in manifestos. We're saying Ghana at 100, this is where we want Ghana to be. I have my dream. I say that Ghana at 40, Accra should not be the capital. Ghana must have a capital in the middle of this country and decongest Accra. Let me just paint a picture. These were things that were done, and these were plans. And if we had been allowed to implement these plans, Ghana would not be where it is. Somehow, even when Akosombo was being built, there would always be people who would say, no, we don't need it. When people were sent to Niagara Falls to go and see how the hydroelectric project in Niagara Falls in Canada had done for the people of Canada, people went there all right, but came back and said, yes, it is all right for Canada, but Akosombo is a prestige project. We could all have stopped it, and I don't know what would have been. But at the time Akosombo was being formulated, Bui Dam, everything that was to be used in building Bui Dam was in this country. Somehow, all those things vanished. And just like in this country, nobody bothers. It's all right, Jack. That's it. But Bui would have come on stream in 1970. Atomic energy and nuclear energy would have come on stream. The science park that was going to build the renewable energy, the biomass, the biogas, all those things would have also come on stream. You think we would have been in this mess that we're in? The moderator said, what? We grew at 14.3. It dropped down to what? An anticipated 3.5%. We know why. Because there's been no plan. I have said we stopped thinking for this country after 1966. Everybody who has come has thought about themselves. For once, we are saying, let us begin to construct. If you're a taxi driver, tell us, what is it that you want? Maybe by that time it will be an electric car. And look, let him say it. By that time, it might not be an electric car, it might be a car fired by whatever technology. But at least, let us begin to see where Ghana will be. I had the great fortune of joining the General Electric at one of their major seminars, and I was a speaker before Colin Powell. And at that seminar, we were educated by an American company, American think tank, that thinks 30 years ahead. It was 2006. The first question was, everybody cast your mind back to 1976. What was in this world? Nothing. Technological advancement has virtually overtaken everything. But you know what they said? That 30 years on, the major issue will be water. And America is working on it such that if they have to force 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen to make water in the laboratory, they will do it. Because once they achieve that, America will continue to be in their enviable position. It might not come out as a government 40-year project, but tell me that is not an American 30-year project. They are looking to make sure their dominance in this world does not change. Here we are as a country. We've gone through years, Ghana Poverty Reduction Strategy. What did it do? It was 5 years, the same 5 years that Kofi would want us to continue. Rolling what? A few kilometers of road, CHIPS compounds, KVIP, and somehow we think that is development. Look, let us grow our mind. Let us sit down and say, we want to see this country. I will not be there. But the architect who drew the Westminster Abbey did not see it built. But he drew it. He anticipated that however long it takes, it will be the envy of the world. And today it is the envy of the world. The number of people who go to London and go and see Westminster Abbey, phenomenal. Why can't we think that we as Ghanaians can do pretty much the same? Let's think big. Let us get there. You know, this country, we haven't moved very far. Several years ago, there was a man who grew up in Osiem. He used to walk 5 miles to school. He ended up as one of the foremost professors of history. His son, who was born in Legon, I think 5 years, he had a computer in his hand. Today, he's a bioengineer, or what, a monomorphic engineer, planning to create a microchip that you can insert into the retina and it will cure blindness. These things can happen. He's a Ghanaian. So sometimes don't let's belittle ourselves and think that we cannot dream or we cannot plan and achieve things. Look, if nothing has taught us that it is important to plan and plan effectively and achieve it, do so. Many people have lost their business. Many people have lost their ability to, even come back. But in life, you cannot sit down and not learn lessons. And NDPC is saying, no, we're not sitting in the conference room. We're not drawing a plan for Ghanaians. We're going everywhere. All of you, as Ghanaians, whatever you think should be achieved. And let me say that the end point is not Ghana at 100. It doesn't mean that everything that you write there, it has got to be attained at 40 years. Of course, along the line, so many things will be achieved. And we will build on that. So, in a sense, it's taking care of even some of the things that Kofi has said. That rolling stock 5 years, 5 years. We've done that. At least we've had how many? 4. 4 of those. 4 4-year cycles. And this is where Ghana is. Let us be creative. Let us be imaginative. Let us get there and strive to work to achieve these plans. And I'm saying this 40-year development plan is feasible. Let us not sit down and assume that Ghanaians will be linear growths. We will grow from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Some people have done 1 to 2 to 4 to 16. exponential growth takes place, we've got to open our minds. We've got to sit down and say that this country of ours, we are keen to make this country the envy of this world. And let's begin to work on that and stop just thinking that, 40 years is something that, hey, I bet when I was 10 years, I never thought that I would be 50. How I've passed 50 and gone to 60, only God knows. It's just flown. 40 years is a very, very short time. And maybe some of us, even though we're 60, some people move to 100, 103. We might be alive. And we might see along that 40 years a lot of our aspirations, a lot of our desires being achieved. Thank you, Ms. Moderator.
Right. Well, I've listened to Prof, but I think we should get back to the topic, whether the 40-year plan is feasible. Prof, I hear him tell us, let's plan, let's dream, let's plan. I work in a think tank. I teach strategy. I've heard that so many times. But we just suffered cholera. We have a country that lost 200 people from a simple flood. It is not that we don't plan. We don't implement. So why should we plan again if we won't implement? And if you're a country that suffers cholera, that's a national disgrace. Cholera is a municipal issue. It's not a personal issue. You can be clean as you want in your house, but the fly will come from somebody's house, sit on your food, and give you cholera. So the point is not just the plan. We have to have something that we can all work towards. How hard is it if I tell you that this is one of the few countries on this planet where good water flows from the north into the south, straight into the sea, and Accra, 60 kilometers away, is thirsty? How hard is it? Wouldn't you understand if I told you that we should put the next 5 years aside and make sure we make water available in every town and village? The land size of Ghana, 25 million people who have oil. And in the past 3 years, we've made $3 billion out of that oil. Why can't we do that? This is the country that produced Kofi Annan. This is the country that produced Rebi Olenu, who was one of the guys who programmed the Mars rover. This is the country that produced Akuya Kwenye. We can do anything we set our minds to do. The problem is we don't think well enough, hard enough. The problem is the thinking that goes into the so-called plans are wrong, and we just don't implement them. So this is what I'm saying. Let's not just shoot for another plan. Let's just have a set of strategic national goals that we agree as people will be done. And if we agree on that, that's what I'm asking NDPC to do. Don't put a 40-year tagline on it. Give me 5 years. Make it a series of 5. In the next 10 years, knock out water, health, energy, education, transport, and telecommunications. The next 5, move on to other things. Of course, we can do many other things in the meantime. But for that period, these things must be done. This 40-year plan thing, I question the concept. I question the process. And I question the leadership that will deliver it. The concept I've already talked about. If you say 40, it tells me there's a problem. Because that horizon, you can't even wrap your mind around it. And let me tell you something which is ironic. When anybody tells you that they are going to have a plan, that they will start but they will not finish, it's an abdication of responsibility. Simply because he will start it, he won't finish it. Somebody else will come and finish it, and it won't be done. He will say, well, I left it to the guy to finish. The guy will say, well, the guy who started it didn't finish. And that's our story. It will never be done. Give me 5 years. We have a political system that runs in 4 years. So if you have a 5-year period, you have 90% of that within the first term. If you've done a good job, we'll give you another one. So 8 years, you have the first 5 years in it. If you do a good job over that 5 years, we'll give you another one. You can go to 10 years and get me the results. Not 40. So I'm saying we should plan, Prof. We should plan. And I'm saying we should not have pie-in-the-sky plans spanning 40 years. We should deal with the things we can deal with. Look, I work in a think tank. For energy, we have had plans. Okay? I'm hoping NDPC will come up with some of those things. It won't cost us 5 years. I do believe it takes 18 months to build a 400-megawatt thermal plant. I do believe that if we give ourselves 10 years, we can build at least 5 of them in this country. Is that impossible? We have the gas. If we give ourselves 10 years, we can pipe gas onto every region in this country. Why shouldn't we do that? We have the money, we have the men, we have the need. So I'm saying, give me a plan that says to my friend in Cape Coast, who's a taxi driver, that you would have electricity and Dumsor will never be here because there'll be a gas thermal firing plant in your region that is delivering electricity and is doable. And it's going to be done in 5 years. And we hold our leaders to it. And we give them no excuse. They can't tell me, I did a bit of it. If you have a 40-year plan, you do small, you leave it, and you kick it down the next road. And again, I remind you, our envy list of countries, that's what they've done. Google it now. They all have a series of 5-year plans. The process the NDPC is suggesting to us is that they are going to go around the country collecting ideas, okay, for, input into this plan. Let us face it. The farmers of this country and the other folk who are struggling today, worrying about fertilizer and their harvest and the cocoa road which is not working and all the things going on, are not contemplating intellectual paradigms of economic development over 40 years. And we are pretending to go and consult them. And the last time they did 2 days in Kumasi, came back and said, fine, this is what I think. If the NDPC leaders know what should go into the plan, and they are pretending they are going to go around and ask people, they should stop spending the 10 million on the per diem and other things. They should just do the plan, give us the plan, let's figure out whether it will work for us or not. The problem of this country is that the educated elite have abdicated their responsibility. These farmers have paid for us to go to school. We should lock ourselves in a room and produce serious plans that take them out of the drudgery of everyday living or never come out of those rooms. And we go back to them and ask them, what do you want your life to be in 40 years? He wants fertilizer, he wants education, he wants lights. And that one does not take 40 years. And the money he's giving you should be able to deliver it. If the NDC people do not know what should go into that plan, they shouldn't be in the NDPC. That's the National Development Planning Commission. And if they know, but they're just going to go around, talk to people for 2 days, come back to Accra, and do what they intended to do anyway, then clearly it's a waste of money. We need to put people in place to figure out how to deal with the basic existentials that we need to deal with. We are of age, we can do it, we should do it. It shouldn't cost us 40 years, maximum 20 years.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll have the last presentation from Professor Kosa, and he's going to convince us now that indeed the 40-year development agenda is feasible.
Let me say that everything that Kofi has said can be situated in the 40-year development plan. Kofi, everything that he has said, energy, education, water, everything can be situated in this plan. So frankly, I don't know where the argument is. But you see, for everything there will be cynics. There will be cynics who believe that nothing, this country, we can't do anything. We've had four-year rolling short-term or medium-term budgets or whatever, plans. None of it has achieved the kind of things that you think that doing 5 years instead of the 4 would achieve. In any case, our political cycle is 4 years. You start doing anything 5 years, you're going over, one political process. But the facts of the matter is this. We are probably the most polarized political country that I have ever had the pleasure of visiting. The left hand and the right arm will not even want to communicate. Where we learned democracy from, that is not how they practice democracy. In at least the mother of parliamentary democracy, the Queen's speech is handed over to the leader of the opposition. He reads it, they agree on language, they agree on issues, and issues of national interest, they put 3-line whips so that everybody supports it. That is their parliamentary democracy. Here, no, NDC, even if they are saying they would give everybody, how much? 1 million. The other side would oppose it. No, because they would want to be the party that would do that 1 million and not the other side. Cynics will be everywhere. But I'm saying that as a country, we've suffered enough. Why should people And all the 4 rolling year development plans, people have sat in their own rooms and brought out a plan. Maybe they didn't consult Kofi Benso, so he's not very pleased with it. But the facts of the matter is that even if you have your own dream, it's better to listen to everybody. And let me tell you, going to Kumasi does not end there. All the districts are supposed to have meetings, are supposed to pull things together and bring that. Kumasi was the first, so you certainly did not see the whole process. But it's going to be every district bringing out the relevant issues. If they want water, yes. And I'm saying that the fact that it's a 40-year plan doesn't mean that the end point is 40. So you start water, it has to be finished at 40. That is not the issue. Within the 40-year plan, there will be several 4-year plans. And all these things would have endpoints. If it is water and we say we want every village to have water in 4 years, and I say that it's not, a standpipe somewhere in the middle of a village, but you have a standpipe there and you pipe water into every village's home. That can be achieved. And that is all part of a 40-year development plan. Why you think that because it's a 40-year plan, everything must end in 2057, I don't understand. That is not what it means. What would end in 3 years will end in 3 years. Look, Millennium Development Goals, 1990 to 2015. Ghana claims we achieved poverty way up before 2015. Nobody said you should wait to 2015 before you declare you've halved poverty. No. So the fact that you're talking about a 40-year development plan doesn't mean that every issue that you bring must end at 40 years. So you can sit down and say 40 years is a long time for doing this, the gas things can come. You can 18 months to build a 400 thermal plant. It will be built, but the 18 months is within the 40 years. So really, I don't see what the point is. It's just being cynical and just opposing for the sake of opposing. It will be done. No, it's important that we sit down and say, at the end of it, who is the major beneficiary? It's this country, Ghana. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned, if we move the capital from Accra into the center of this country, immediately allows this country to explode into development. Because nowhere will be far from the capital. If you sit in Hamley and you've got to come to Accra, no matter how well your roads are, 4-lane, it's a long drive. Accra is congested, Accra is choked. Go to Lagos today. Lagos that I knew many years ago, it's not Lagos now. It's an enviable place. They've decongested Lagos and have allowed Lagos to breathe. And Lagos is growing. I'm saying that. The fact that you Google long-term development plan and you see 5-year rolling doesn't mean that people sit there and they don't plan ahead. I said, I had the benefit of sitting in a think tank. I wish this is what Imani would do. Do that. 30 years looking at how you can bring 2 molecules of oxygen, hydrogen, and 1 molecule of oxygen together to create water. These are the things that people are doing. Long-term plans. Just so that their country forever will continue to be at the top of everything. NDPC, a lot of commissioners, a lot with different backgrounds. Yes, we could sit down, we could, have, 2 weeks and say we've written a plan. But no, because those plans are not what? Owned by the people. The people should have ownership. So you go to the people. What is wrong with that? These are things that as a strategist you have taught that if people don't have a stake in any strategic plan, they will not answer to that strategic plan. Why are you denying the fact that this is what NDPC is doing? So you teach one thing and you practice something else? No. Maybe Imani thinks they have all the knowledge and the wisdom and they can sit down and do all the things that you do. No. NDPC says, yes, we will go, we will do the consultation, we will put things together. There are people whose major area is water. They will look at all the issues that come of water, energy, all those things. And we will sit down and construct what we think is something that is beneficial to everybody. everybody will see their plan in it. Everybody will see what they want achieved in it. And in the end, I'm saying we don't have to wait to 2057 for everything to end. It will end when it should end. And Ghana will be the beneficiary of all this. Thank you.
We come to the third round, and I will ask one or two questions, but the speakers are free also to direct questions to each other. Prof, the planning is at the consultation stage, and we've had people going around. First, they've gone to Kumasi. My question is that would these consultations lead to the changes in the parameters which the Planning Commission has initially set out? In particular, I mean, we've been told that we want a 40-year plan. If the preponderance of opinions indicate that maybe we should draw back to a 30-year plan or 20-year plan, will this be considered by the Commission?
Of course it will be considered, but the point is that what will be the basis of that? The consultation is, how would you want to see Ghana in 2057? What is it that are your needs that has got to be achieved within this 40-year plan? We haven't come to ask you whether you want a 10-year development plan or a 20-year development plan or 30-year. Of course, people will come out and say, 40 years is too long. I will not be alive. But like I said, you see, Kofi said that because you will not be alive, you will not be interested.
I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, it amounts to that. But I'm saying that
I said
Westminster Abbey was built. The architect who drew it was not alive when it was finished. But I'm sure he died knowing very well that if they put out this building, my God, it will be the envy of the world. And today it is the envy of the world. Let us sit down and also think long term. Any pastor wants a church, he wants the church built because at the end of the day, he knows what he's going to benefit. He's not going to, of course. We're too short term. We're too short term in a lot of the things that we do.
Well,
and for once, please, the question is to me. And for now, we have an opportunity to put a long-term development plan together. And I want to tell you that, yes, if countries will spell out what is their 5-year ruling plan, it does not mean that they don't have long-term plans. It does not mean that at all. And the fact that that is not on Google doesn't mean they don't have it.
Prof, there must be a reason why all the countries that succeed at planning and implementing their plans do 5-year rolling plans. At the time that South Korea, under Park Chung, reached their 8th 5-year plan, they were 40 years into that plan. There must be a reason why China has a 100-year vision, but that's 5-year plans. There must be a reason. Now, we have done 7, 6, 5, 10, not implemented any. Anybody who knows any strategy knows that work expands to fill the time allotted to it. I think you've heard that before. If you give yourself a 40-year horizon, you set yourself mentally in a certain way that leads to defeat. Which is why I'm saying let it be short, let it be crisp. And I'm saying in this particular situation, why the 40-year plan is not feasible is because our circumstances say that we really do need to knock out water, health, education.
But it will be done.
No. My point is this. We do need to do it. We can do it if we focus sufficiently and craft a plan within the next 10 years, maximum 20, and put all our energies and resources to it, and not start overreaching into 40 years, because that kind of mindset will defeat it like all the others have been defeated. Facebook was not planned by Zuckerberg's grandfather. What Zuckerberg's grandfathers did was to create a platform so that when he woke up, he could just do it. That's what we need to do. What we need to do is to make sure my child doesn't think about whether the lights will be on or off, water will run or not, whether he will pay school fees or go to a good school or not. Solve these things. When you finish solving them, we can think about the next one. So you see, I am not talking about not planning. I am simply saying that it's the same kind of mindset that has led us to the position we are in right now. And please, talking about the political bickering and everything causing the problem, that has never been the problem. Our problem has been leadership. In fact, bad leadership. All right? Now, if you take our envy list, China, Korea, Singapore, each one of them, almost each one comes with a name. Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew. Malaysia,
how many years as leader?
How many years in terms of planning?
How many years as leader?
How many years as leader?
Yes.
But that's different from the plan. He had a long leadership. Mahathir Mohamad had about the same time that Jerry Rawlings had. It is not the length of leadership. Kwame Nkrumah had 9 years or so. Look at what he did. So it is about the quality of the leader, okay, and the ability not just to plan, but to see through the plan, even in the face of stiff opposition. I dare say, no president in this country has had worse opposition than Kwame Nkrumah. But look at what he achieved. It's about leadership. It's not about opposition.
Okay, let me inform the audience about one example which is still there. And I will relate it to our Ghana's example. Then I will ask my next question. This is the case of Malaysia. Malaysia launched a 30-year plan in 1990. And they had very broad targets. Their main statement was that they want to become a high-income country by the year 2020. The advantage they have is that they are a constitutional monarchy. So as the parties come, if any party is going around, then the other party resorts to the monarch. But their plans, they've not gone away from it. And last year, the Academy held a session, and the Malaysian consul came. And he indicated that, indeed, whatever it is broad. Every party knows that this is where we want to go. We want to become a high-income country. So let me just fast-track and come to what has happened. Between 2009 and 2013, their per capita income rose from 7,060 to 10,060. Now, the United Nations ranks the high-income countries from 12,600. So what this lecturer said was that with the increase of 42% in these 3 years, it means they are growing and they expect indeed to become a high-income country by 2020, maybe even before. Now, the illustration for Ghana is that indeed Ghana borrowed from Malaysia. Malaysia launched its 30-year plan in 1990. In 1995, Ghana came out with Vision 2020, with a 25-year plan. But this was abandoned. Now, the point is Malaysia is sticking to his. And so we are sure that they are sure that indeed they will get to the milestone, they will get to the target they have set themselves. So what we need really to be sure of is that whatever targets we set, we can all keep it. So the real problem is...
Mr. Moderator, the argument is...
No, I'm just...
Actually, to the contrary.
No, I'm not...
It's about implementation.
No.
And it doesn't have to be
I'm
40
just
years.
giving that as an illustration that indeed it is possible to have a long-term plan. Now the question really is, what perspective should we choose? And it's the implementation. It's the implementation. So anyway, let me direct my next question to the lawyer. Please, I'm very sure that you are aware of the strategic plans of the developed countries because, you know, the economy is really in the private sector. And most of the leading corporations definitely have strategic plans. So it is that which drives them to their targets and all that. So what would you say about that? Should we just say that there's no plan at all, or there should never be that strategic, long-term, 10-year, 20-year plan at all?
Or that,
in our case, the government should set the direction?
There can never be an argument that we should not have a plan at all. It can never be an argument. But like you're saying, and in fact, what you are talking about really looks like what they did in South Korea. So you had a situation where the government planned, and again, they did it in 5-year increments. But what they did was that they created a base. And when they created the base, right after, for instance, they got over the infrastructure, they encouraged private companies to take it up. All right? So again, the point is not just a plan. But in the case of Korea, as against other communist and socialist countries, they had this mind that the government must go in and solve problems and create a very easy playing field for the private entities to play on. Now, in the socialist situation, you have a situation where the government goes and creates it and does everything, and ultimately they all crumble. Korea has stood. Why? Why? Because if you read their history, and I did, they consistently followed each plan. And after each plan, they let the private people get in and then build up on it. It's exactly what I'm talking about. I am saying, do not try to regulate the life of your grandchildren. You don't know what they will want. As we speak, the human genome has been sequenced. That will change medicine, and Prof knows it. As we speak, nanotechnology is taking shape. There is nobody who has an idea what that can do, because it will change physics forever. Machines will be made at the atomic level. As we speak, next generation broadband is in test. You don't have an idea what that will do. What we need to do today is to make sure there are roads, there is water, there is education. Those things are there so the next generation and private entities will build on it. So again, I'm saying, one, let us plan. Let us look at our situation. Our situation and our history shows that 13 plans, apart from Kwame Nkrumah, nobody was able to implement theirs. And you know, the things that we deal with, or the existential problems that we have to contend with, are such that, frankly speaking, I'm not saying we shouldn't consult, but it does not require that much consultation. Nobody consulted the people of the United States of America to ask them whether they should provide water everywhere. Nobody consulted anybody in Europe to ask whether there should be electricity everywhere. Nobody consulted anybody to ask them, okay, whether you would like health. Today, in America, they are discussing the form that health financing should take. Obama has stamped his foot on it. They have Obamacare. Take it or leave it. They are struggling over that. But health, you will get. So my point is this. If you have a water situation, are you going to ask the farmer in Bobikuma, do you want water here? And with all due respect to our people, look, I think the problem of this country is that its educated citizens have abdicated their responsibility. And we assume that we are all the same, and therefore, instead of doing the heavy lifting intellectually, we try to leave that to the people, so-called. And then we come back and do what we want to do anyway. There was a time in this country when people were asked what they want in one of the villages. They said they wanted a signboard. I think you've heard that before. Okay? I don't say that to denigrate them, but I'm saying that is what was important to them. If you are a leader and people don't have water and they ask you for a signboard and you don't give them water but you give them a signboard because they said that's what they want, you've not done your job as a leader because you understand what it means. So what I'm saying is this. When you deal with cholera, when you deal with mothers on the floor, when you have to deal with Dumso, 3 years we haven't solved it, you don't have to arrogate yourself the luxury of touring the country to ask me, what do you want? Solve water, solve health, solve education, solve the other things that are basic. Then our children will build on it. Then private companies will build. Today, if you ask any private person, they will tell you that the problems they have in this country, number one is what? Dumso. Nobody needs consultation to deal with that. Let's deal with it. And it shouldn't take 40 years.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes. And
If
your comment, follow it up with a question for...
If America and Europe had slaves and they did their water systems for them, we don't have. And these were slaves who were not paid a dime. And anybody, if I give anybody 100 slaves that they don't even have to feed, you will make money. That is how America and Europe made money. We are not in that situation. But I want to say that everything that Kofi has said can be situated in a 40-year plan. I mean, why? The fact that he thinks that he will not be around, or he might not be around 40 years, and therefore those things will not be achieved. I beg to differ. I will not be around, but I believe that my plans will be achieved. You see, we've had difficulties. Yes, implementation has been our problem. So we never learn. We never learn our lessons. Then, you know, where is our intellect?
But we shouldn't do the same things.
No, please. We've learned, and we're saying that all these things will be done. I'm saying Malaysia, 5-year rolling, but 5-year rolling, there was a plan. There was a 30-year plan. And the 30-year plan had 6 5-year rolling plans. Yes, I'm saying the end point of every issue should not be 40 years. We're not saying that because we're saying it's a 40-year plan, water solution will come in 2057. Energy solution will come in 2057. That is not what this thing is saying. And I just said that when Ghana achieved Millennium Development Goal 1 ahead of time, nobody said you should wait till 2015 before you declare that you've achieved it.
Mr. Chairman,
it is attainable. Let us sit down And let's not play cynics. Let us not think that these things cannot be done. Of course it can be done.
Prophecy.
If implementation is our problem, let us focus on the implementation. But I'm saying that who should have ownership of a 40-year plan? It should not be NDPC sitting in their corner and just putting out things. Look, let me tell you something. If a village says they want what? Signboard. Many others will say they want water. It doesn't mean that you are going to give water to those who said they want water and those who want signboard. No. The whole issue is that we should make sure that water is provided to every citizen of this country. And it will be done. And in addition to whatever, they will get their signboard. That, for me, is proper leadership. And this is, no. This is a proper basis of doing things.
Prof is saying, Prof, just give me a minute. I think you're taking all the time. Prof is saying we have learned our lessons. I don't think we have learned our lessons. All right? Look, the Black Stars just played a match, I think, in Rwanda. We are just coming from the Jamefe Commission, right? We flew money to Brazil, and we're told that it wasn't a really smart thing to do. We flew money again to Rwanda. All right? Have we learned any lessons? We haven't. We've had 13 plans. We never executed any of them. Look, Dumsor, this is not the first time Dumsor happened. Dumsor happened before Jerry Rawlings, when we saw the dam was not going to be capable of helping us. We had short episodes of Dumsor. We were not able to solve it. Did we learn anything today? We have the most crippling energy crisis in the history of this country. And you say we've learned? I don't think we have learned anything at all. And we need to appreciate the fact that we have not had the leaders, okay, that we necessarily should have had to be able to execute at the level of Kwame Nkrumah. And we should bear that in mind.
Then maybe the proposition...
No, Prof, I'm taking... Prof, I have a question for you. Dr. Nimue Thompson and Professor Kwesi Botwe have said that it is necessary for this plan that you are contemplating, the 40-year plan, to be binding on governments. Okay? My contention is that if a plan is sufficiently powerful and inherent in its energy and has the ability to rally people around it, if the plan was couched in simple terms, said that everybody will know that this is what this plan will do for me, you will not need to change our whole constitutional system to make it binding on anybody. And indeed, that whole idea is a bad idea. Why does the plan have to be binding? Is it that you fear that it will not have the power that will create the continuity in it, or what?
Please, let me answer, please.
I think I stated earlier that Ghana is the most polarized and partisan political system that I know, where the left hand and the right hand will not talk. I said that if one hand decided to offer everybody 1 million cedis free, the other hand will resist. And the only reason why they resist is that they wish that they had the opportunity to give that 1 million and not the other side. This is the country that we live in. We're saying Ghanaians throughout are coming out with a plan. And the plan is not an NDPC plan. It's a plan that has gone through consultation, and therefore Ghanaians will own the plan. Of course, if you are a party and you choose that you totally ignore the plan, Ghanaians will see the sort of party it is. But you know, it is important that in some of these situations, you must say that these are the broad strokes. And I've said that go and look at all parties' manifesto, and you see almost a 90% overlap. 90% overlap. Everybody's promising the world. Nobody delivers it. So I'm saying that, in saying that, it is just to let people know that yes, the plan is there and the plan is for this country. The plan is not for NDC. The plan will not be for MPP. The plan is for this country. And therefore, if we say that, it is expected that every political party will draw their manifesto from the long-term plan. What is wrong with that? Nobody has said that they're going to go to lordships to go and ask them to come up with a law that will bind anybody. And in doing that, who knows, you know. But hey, we're saying that this is a collective 40-year plan that we expect all political parties to look at it. And, you know, we know what happens. I've been part of a party manifesto, and I know those who've been part of some other party's manifesto plan. They just sit down and cut and paste, man. Don't do any serious academic exercise. This is a serious academic exercise that will result in a wonderful plan that will be the envy of every African country.
Okay.
Let's start from there.
So let's turn the discussion to the floor. And ladies and gentlemen,
Doesn't matter, don't worry.
you've had very
I'm not asking no questions.
exciting ideas coming from both sides. So now we would like to invite questions, comments, and yes.
And so if you have questions, you can keep them coming. I think the very first one is to the right of the room, or my right of the room.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my name is Samuel Mensah. I think the two speakers, I see a clear demonstration of unity in diversity. And I know Mr. Bentel very well by following him a little. I know that he supports very well in his personal capacity the 40-year. But he's looking at it from a point where we should have breakdowns timeously, having it a process, than rather having it a 40-year kind of plan. But what I'm looking at and I might not get the opportunity to see Prof again, but I'm saying that we should...
He's not dying tomorrow?
No. But I ask in the capacity as a commissioner for the NDPC, but I hope Ghana can work. All our institutions in the hands of private men are working perfectly.
You sure?
Ghanaians, yes, please. Ghanaians are managing international businesses in Ghana here and it's working. So why not our own? I believe that the system must work. If the security system is working, health system is working, not working just like that, but rather having evaluation, that's the point, evaluating the processes and checking, I think it works. Thank you very much. Mr. Bentel, you are doing a good job.
Okay, let me reiterate. Let's keep the questions and comments all within a minute. I will come to you in the second round. I actually counted these gentlemen first. So Toma next, and then I think there was one, Mr. Jantua for this round. And then our next round will be 1, 2, and 3, and you'll be in our third round. Toma, 1 minute.
My name is Toma Emiri. I present Financial Post newspaper. What I want just to know about this 40-year plan is this. How is it going to accommodate the potential changes that will happen over 40 years? You know, Ghana is very, very reliant on the global economy. First of all, how do we accommodate possible technological change? If you look at the world 40 years ago, in terms of technology, there were a lot of things. We didn't even have the internet then. You know, it has changed things a lot. And apart from that, also in terms of the global geopolitical, economic and political system, 40 years is a long, very long time horizon. And, you know, a lot of things could change. Just think back 40 years ago. Who would have imagined that China would be the second largest economy in the world and be driving commodity prices the way they are and things like that? I want to know how the plan would accommodate possible major shifts in the structure of the world economy, in the structure of the geopolitical, you know, things like that, and technological change.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jantua will complete our first round of questions.
I would just like to clarify one or two things. And I am a commissioner at NDPC. Kofi Bentel was talking about these trips we're having all around the country. The major problem that both have brought out is the fact of implementation. Who implements? It's the politicians. And if we don't get the politicians on board, most of the things that we're saying will not happen. So on all the trips we've been, I have just come back from Tamale. We've done Ashanti. We've just come back from Tamale. All the political parties were part and parcel of the discussions we had. And I'll give you a typical example of what happened in Tamale. The chiefs were there, the people were there, the students were there, the politicians were there. We've been crying about railways, 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 railways. Let me tell you one idea that came up. Somebody got up and said, we don't need to build railways all through Ghana. What we need to do is to use the Volta River. Make sure that we use it as a transportation network. At the end of the Volta River, we then build the railway to go into the other parts of the northern region. Now, if we sat in Accra here and thought that we were going to devise a national development plan for railways, we would not get the ideas of these people. This is what makes going around the country profitable, to get people to be made part and parcel of the national development plan. And I must say, it is not a 40-year development plan. At the end, we will realize that we've got water, A, B, C, D, E. It is a 40-year development plan rolled out in 10-year spats. So whatever Kofi is saying, within that 10 years, can be achieved. In my village, the water can be seen. The electricity can be seen within that 10-year period. But the most important thing is to get the politicians to be part and parcel of it. That's why from this start point, all the political parties are part and parcel of the negotiations, of the discussions, of everything that is going on. And you see that the ideas that come out with the politicians there and the kind of questions the people are putting to the politicians, you realize that it is worthwhile going around the country to make people part and parcel of this plan. The NDPC is just a vehicle. We are just a vehicle to make sure that what everybody wants in that plan is catered for. And that is what we are there for. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that was a comment, and we have 2 questions. So
2 questions?
So
questions and
two questions and a comment. So yeah, there is an answer to
Yes,
that
there
as
is
well.
an
All right.
answer.
Okay,
So-
so let's take them quickly. We'll
So,
start with
Mr.
you.
Jantua, you didn't need to go around the country to know that implementation was the problem. You didn't need to do that. If you look at our history and you look at it, you will know that since Kwame Nkrumah, nobody has implemented anybody's plan. And in 1990, I was in the Department of Geography and Resource Development. I was being taught by Professor Bene in Rural Resource Development. And they taught me what you're saying, the gentleman told you, that the Volta River must be a transport thing, and at the end of the day, we should take it from there. And this is 1990, we are in 2015. No, I'm making a point. The point I'm making is that, you see, we ought to give value to the cost that poor farmers have spent educating us, and to put ourselves in a position where we will do the thinking and the heavy intellectual lifting to bring solutions to these people. How do you travel around and collect a per diem for the guy to tell you that you should build a railway at the end of the Volta Lake? And by the way, we need railways between Accra and Tema. We need railways between here and Takoradi. We need railways crisscrossing everywhere. So that one thing cannot be the huge paradigm for the railroad system in Ghana. What cost? Excuse me, sir, listen. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, listen. The colonial people who came here 100 and so years ago with primitive technology went into the rainforest, the bush. They came from England. They don't know tropical forest. They managed to survive mosquitoes and the forest and build railways in our tropical bushes. We live here, we are born here, we do everything here. We haven't extended those railways. It's a failure of our intellectuals. And you need somebody to tell you to do that. I think we have to have railways crossing everywhere in this country. I would not need a tour of this country before I learned that. And I don't think that you should necessarily have gone there to the Volta River Transport Company has been existing for a number of years now, and it's failing. It's failing. So my point is that whole point, really, I really don't get it. Should I answer the other question?
I think we'll share the spoils. Professor Kosa, I think the second question was about how the plan would accommodate technological changes over 40 years.
I think it's fair to say that everything was said in the first 10 minutes. I mean, the gentleman came in late. It would all be accommodated. It will all be accommodated. Yes, it will be accommodated because I think it's important. No, please. You know, the reason why I say that is that, you know, we've done 2 10-minute sessions before you came, and I'm saying that, you know, the moderator should have even said that these things have been spoken about. I mean, you don't leave a questioner who just comes in to ask a question. You should have said that, gentlemen, just hold your breath, because we've had, you know, but what is important is that, you see, I think that Kofi keeps hammering on the same issue. Ownership of a 40-year development plan for me is very important. And if you think we can sit in NDPC and have Ghanaians own the 40-year plan, yes, then we don't go anywhere.
That's
but
not
I don't
what
know
I
why you get so obsessed with per diem. People have been people have been appointed commissioners. Look, if you came on board, of course, your transportation will be paid for. And so on. So that is not the issue. But that is not the issue. So I'm saying that is not something that you need to hammer on. The fact of the matter is that we're going around to solicit views. The views will be collected. The views will be looked at. We have people who will analyze everything, and in the end, there will be a plan. And I'm saying the plan does not end after 40 years. So please let me say that again. Water will not end 2057. Energy will not end 2057. Every issue will not end 2057. We will move on rolling and we will achieve things as we go along. I will live and see a lot of the things that I will write to NDPC about. I just hope that Imani Ghana will sit down and present their views on a 40-year plan. Maybe he wants 20, 30, 40. What is really in it? What is really in it? Why the obsession that 40 is not feasible? I'm saying let us change. We would implement. If others haven't implemented, it doesn't mean that this time around it will not be implemented. We've learned lessons, and that is why we are in Dumsor, and we are facing this serious problem. I started by saying that if we had even followed after 1966, the plans that were there, we would not be in this mess. Those leadership failed this country because we would have come online in 1970. The atomic energy would have come on, soon after that, and at least the science park would have been developed. What happened after 1966? You chuck everything out because paymasters say so. But, for once, let us sit down and focus and think that we as Ghanaians, having gone through the most harshest economic system, through Dumsor, are prepared and have learned our lessons, and we're going to do things right by the 40-year development.
We're going to take another round of questions. Madam, over to you.
Well, thank you. I think the issue about feasibility is what we should be probably looking at. I believe that we have had a number of plans way back. We have not, up till now, been informed by the previous plans. We have always had a situation where we are starting as if nothing had happened, and therefore we have not been able to roll things from the past into the present. My commitment to this and my suggestion to you is that, personally, I think 40 years is a little bit in the horizon, and like I was telling my colleague here, probably we should be looking at a framework that sets like a skeleton for us, and then we program within that and strategize within that, so that I am looking at, okay, there's a framework, we want to get to London, and we will probably take a canoe from, where do you come from? Somewhere. And, go on the...
There's no water where I come from.
Well, go on the rivers and get there, but we will get to London in 40 years. But in the 40 years, maybe we can have a 5-year programming where we can, at the end of every 5 years, evaluate what we have done, why we were not able to achieve what we didn't achieve, roll it into the next 5 years, and let it lead us to some place. I hope that what we have now, or the vision of the NDPC, is something like this. If it is, maybe what they have to do for us is to spell out this concept for all of us to see ourselves in a rolling program, rather than, it's really difficult to wrap your mind around a 40-year horizon. And I think that's where we're having issues. Thank you.
Kofi is obviously very happy about that. Edgar, you'll have to wait your turn. I'm in the queue here. So this gentleman on that row, not you, the one behind you first. Yeah. I think it would be nice to tell us your name and where you're from now on. Keep it short, please.
Hello, my name is Kweku. I'm from Apple Club. During the whole discussion, what I was hearing mostly was that the good prof here was selling us dreams. And I was hearing more reality here. Now, as a Ghanaian, I can tell for a fact that most Ghanaians do not trust politicians. And therefore, when a politician is selling us a dream, you may not be politicians though, but this will come from that side. And therefore, it will be difficult to believe. However, what I am wondering right now is, if you took a quick survey here, I believe most people will not even be sure what exactly that 40-year plan entails. There are 13 things that is supposed to be in it. But in this short while, I've heard about wheat, about water, health, education, transport. I've heard about something that can easily be sold to the Ghanaian. Let's keep in mind that a lot of our people, and this is no disrespect to them, but a lot of our people, about 40% of Ghanaians are uneducated or illiterate. And it will be very difficult to sell something this complicated. The question here is, how do you sell a 40-year plan to Ghanaians? Because if the politician does not care about the people, as much as we would like to believe that, they care about the power of the people, which is their votes. If Ghanaians do not own this plan, if we do not own it, and how do we own it? If you are able to sell it and let every Ghanaian believe in it, something simple that can go and everybody can believe in it and hold them to it. If we cannot hold a politician to it, they will just let it go.
Thank you.
So my question is, how do we sell it?
How do we sell that?
Okay. Thank you.
To a largely illiterate population. So let's do the gentleman in the front. Edgar, you're next. You'll be in the next
good
round.
evening. My name is Nkunimdini Asantintri. I heard most of the contention around process and duration, 40 years, 20 years, or 5 years. Or process, do we consult or do we not consult? Is it wise, and so on and so forth. But you do agree with me that strategy or plan is a function of structure. And the plan is as good as the money that backs it. And for me, I think the conversation ought to surround, questions about how is the plan going to operate within the governance structure environment that we have. For example, the Constitutional Review Commission did a wide consultation, came up with a couple of concerns. And one of the issues were that too many legislators that were functioning in the executive. So the executive was not sufficiently accountable to the legislature. That is a problem that we have. Number two, every now and then seems to running around IMF, World Bank, looking for money. Extended credit facility, 980 million. What is the fiscal arrangement that is going to back a plan like this for 40 years? Because if we don't have the money, we might as well forget about it. Thank you.
Okay, so we had, I think we'll take Edgar's question. Is it a question?
Yeah.
Okay, in a minute, because then that makes 2 questions and 2 comments.
All right. I want to believe that the 2 gentlemen have just been speaking the same language. One is long-term. Someone says short-term, but we'll get there. I recall some guys were playing with Nkrumah's position of independence now, and then the UP's position of independence in 7 years. And we got independence in 7 years. Now, what is the same thing? The problem I have is that whatever you have said, no problem. But for me, the crucial issue is, I think the last speaker was trying to say something. Everything calls down to what? The cash is, the cash. Currently in this country, our money situation is getting bad. If we are not careful, the little revenue we are even getting from oil, we will not get it again. Cocoa is getting down. Gold is getting down. If you want to put plans on paper, and at the end of the day, you don't have the money, where are you going? Maybe that is why someone will believe that let's begin to look at maybe what can we do within a year or 2 or 3, based on the kind of cashes you have. And that is the basic infrastructure. Let's be serious on this matter. Most of the time, we are not talking about it. But seriously, if you are not careful, Tulo will stop drilling. Yeah. If you are not careful, Tulo will stop drilling because the figures are getting low and they are not breaking even. And I don't know how maybe even our next year's budget is going to look like. So whilst we are talking all this fine language and things, the bottom line is money. If the money is not there, forget it.
So I take it your question is, how do we fund this wonderful plan? Okay, so over to you. When you're done with this question, I'll hand over to the moderator. You'll have 2 minutes each to wrap up, and then we'll call it a night.
Well, let me...
There are 2 issues which we must address. The first, which came last also, is the fiscal resources to support 40-year plan. And the other is, how do we educate a largely illiterate about a 40-year plan? How do we translate it? Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, the fact that somebody is illiterate doesn't mean that that person doesn't have common sense. And sometimes we want to think that literacy and common sense are 2 different things. You know, NDPC was at pains to say there is no plan. You want me to talk about water? You want me to talk about electricity? When we are out seeking the views of Ghanaians, that will be constructed. When the plan has been constructed, you will read in it water, you will read in it electricity, you will read in it everything that you wanted to hear. The short-term strategic plan doesn't take away from the fact that as a country, for once, let us sit down, let us think, and let's believe in ourselves that we're capable of achieving these things. I think we've all grown too cynical. And somehow we think that whatever we say, we're not going to do it, so we must as well not say anything. But I'm saying NDPC has begun the process of constructing a plan. The plan will be implemented. A plan that is not costed and the resources provided is no plan. You go back to Kwame Nkrumah's 7-year development plan, everything was costed. Now, if there was a plan and we had unveiled a plan and all these things were not in it, then I can understand your question. There is no plan. But the plan will come through process of consultation. We want Ghanaians to own this plan. And I think that somehow we're saying it, but people are not hearing it. The plan is not there. Kofi Benzo wants us to sit in NDPC and bring out a plan. Because as intellectuals, we should be responsible. But we're saying, no, we want the plan to be owned by the people of this country. So it will be done. And let me tell you that the costing will be done and money will be put against everything. And I'm saying, let us for once begin to believe that we are capable of achieving something good for this country. I think over the years, yes, politicians have failed us, but you see, politicians are as good as those who elect them. At the end of the day, we all go to the polls, we go and elect them, and at the end of the day, we start complaining about them. You understand? If we all sat down and all of you who feel you know better and you are educated, go back into the villages and persuade those you think are uneducated about what is good for them, maybe we might be different. But you want to sit in Accra and they sit in wherever and they take a decision and somehow you think that probably your decision should override them. It doesn't happen like that.
I think that the point must be made clear. What I'm saying is, one, we must plan. But two, it is not right to go around and present the people of Ghana with a blank sheet and say, fill it up with stuff that should go into a 40-year plan. That is what I'm calling the abdication of responsibility of the educated elite. NDPC should tell us the 6 or 10 key things that we face in this country. We've done that in Imani. I can talk on them off my head. Now, when you have those 6 things, I think you have a certain responsibility to put them in a certain framework and tell the people that we should do this in 20 years and ask for nuanced approaches towards those things. If you ask a farmer, what is your biggest problem, what should we do in 10 years, he's going to tell you about farming things. If you ask a driver, he's going to tell you driver things. Go to Bukom and go to Jamestown, ask somebody what should be in a 10-year plan, he's going to tell you about things regarding the sea. That is why the intellectual heavy lifting is crucial. 8 years ago, I was sitting in Safari Park Hotel in Kenya, and I was speaking to a nuclear scientist, and I was discussing with him nuclear energy for Ghana. 3 years later, I had a debate with Balete Gomi on Joy FM and was able to prove that we should do nuclear. Kwame Nkrumah had thought about it already. Now, the call-ins on that day were all against me. Somewhere down the line, some committee was set up, some professor or so, and they came to the conclusion I came to. It's not everything we do in Imani that we put out. But if you want to, I can let you into all the stuff that we've done. And you will know that we've actually thought very deeply about all these things. My point again, to reiterate, we need to plan. But we should not go to our poor, suffering farmers and fisher folk and ask them, we want to do a 40-year plan, what should be in it? That's an abdication of responsibility. And please, I need to, there are a couple of other things, or you should go back.
Yeah, I think that let's take this opportunity to sum up. I'll give you the chance first. So you take 2 minutes to really give.
I had to sum up in 2 minutes. But look, Thomas, what you said was crucially important. And I think that is one of the things I wanted to speak about. You see, the pace of technological development is such that you shouldn't overreach. You should build a solid foundation and let the young people build on it. And specifically, I'll give you an example to what Thomas is speaking about. We have in this country something called the Land Administration Project. They spent $200 million already. And what they are trying to do is to digitize the map of Accra, okay? Now, in the past 3 years, Google has digitized the map of Accra, and we use it. And the land administration project is still spending money trying to invent the wheel. That's what Thomas is talking about. You have a situation where you've set the system rolling, it's spending and burning through cash, all right? And it has no connection to the reality around it. What we need to do is to open up and say, what do we need to solve so that all the other things can build upon it? We don't do that, we are wasting money. Look, the point is simple. I am all for planning. That's why I work in a think tank. But I'm saying we have a history of planning and a history of not implementing them. And the key issue with these things is because the plans don't resonate with the people. Now, for a plan to resonate with the people, Prof is saying what we need to do is take trips around the country and ask people, what do you want in a 40-year plan? I said that is not the way to go. For the plan to resonate to the people, do the intellectual heavy lifting and ask yourself, what is it? And it is easy because in our particular situation, the needs are quite basic. Water, health, education, energy, transport, telecoms. If we can fix these things, okay, what we need to do is now go in there and ask what nuanced approach should we use. If it's water, we can bring Akosombo, or do you want a borehole, or what other things here and there, and that kind of thing. And then we get back and knock it out. You're talking about money. It's crucial. A plan without money means nothing. We've made $3 billion in oil alone.
2 minutes?
Okay, oil alone. So the money we can find, and if it is wheat we are dealing with, trust me, Ghanaians will even pay extra VAT for you to deal with that if they trust the leadership.
Thank you very much. So, Prof, 2 minutes and then.
Mr. Moderator, I think we're going over and over and over and over again. The issues of water, the issues of electricity, the issues of transport, the issues of telecom, the issues, of wheat will be addressed in our 40-year development plan. The point is that Kofi gives an impression that the fact that the people of Bukom will talk about the sea means that the sea will be focused on Bukom. The fact that farmers will say fertilizer. But you see, at the end of the day, you are looking at a 40-year plan for the whole country. You will synthesize everything that you hear. And I'm saying every person will see themselves in the plan. That is ownership. And I've said that for somebody who teaches strategy, ownership cannot be sitting in a room and deciding and saying, this is what I have. This is the intellectual heavyweight, so it is time. We're saying the 40-year plan will be feasible, it will be addressed, it would address all our pertinent issues, and we would implement them. I look forward to the day on my deathbed, I'm sure the water problems would have been solved, the electricity problems would have been solved, nuclear energy would have been there, and so on and so forth. All that within the 40 years. I don't believe that by saying a 40-year plan means we shall wait till the end of 40 years to say water has been solved, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
That is not the whole purpose.
Thank you. Okay. So, Mr. Moderator, you can also sum up in 2 minutes.
Well, I think that this has been a very lively debate. On the one hand, we have the motion proposed by Mr. Bentley, and I think he's given some very practical examples of what could be done and what should be done, rather than looking far into the future. I think, on the other hand, Professor Kosa has brought out that indeed we have to dream big and make sure that we support these. And politically, with that type of thinking, we believe that we can move forward. Personally, I feel that indeed the consultations are very, very important, but I think the consultations should be extended into the perspective. That is how long the plan should be. The NDPC should accept comments which come along those lines, because I think really this concerns people. It has been raised from the floor. And I'm very sure that the issue will continue, and we'll ask that Joy FM continues to play this corporate social responsibility and have much more discussion, not only in these debate fora, but in the course of their programs. So with that, I think we'll come to the presenter and
thank you very much.
Get the voting.
Thank you very much, Professor Ewuzi. It's been a very wonderful evening again, and thank you very much, debaters. You've kept us on the edge of our seats with your arguments. I'd like you all to give yourselves and the debaters a big round of applause. We'll just share a few thoughts from our virtual audience who have been following the tweets and tweeting at us via the hashtag JoyDebate. Don't forget the communication and conversation continues through the hashtag. Now, Boabing Solomon says, we can think long-term, but we need effective and visible short-term plans to take us to that long-term dream. Another one quotes Dr. Ni Amudako, says, irrespective of number of years, no development plan will work in a Santa state. And there's several of those. Another one says, I like Professor Bedu Akosa, but his ideas seem old school. 40-year development plan is clearly not feasible. Well, I guess he's entitled to his opinion. And another says, you do not want your grandma planning your life. This is quoting Kofi Bento. I think it's been a wonderful evening of intellectual discourse, and I've enjoyed myself. Unfortunately, normal programming has to resume, and we also have to let the gentlemen take their seats. But it's been great, and thank you very much, Professor Ewuzi, for moderating this. Has been fantastic. Yes, we're going to take the vote, and for those of you who think that for the motion that Ghana's 40-year development agenda is not feasible, I'd like to see your hands up, please. Okay, help me count. Okay, I think, all right. Now, for those of you who are against the motion on Professor Akosa's side, let's see your hands up. Okay. For those of you who believe that the 40-year development agenda is feasible, let's see your hands up. And vote well. Okay, so, Prof, I'm trying, but well, by the votes in here, the debate has been won by Kofi Bento. Well, I think that the bottom line is that we're all winners, and we're all walking away with new insights. I'm sure the NDPC will have a thing or two to also rethink in their approach to doing this, and Ghana ultimately wins. So for these two gentlemen to take the stage and argue their point, and for our moderator to sit in with us and make this happen, I think they deserve a final round of applause. And to our listeners, we say thank you very much for tuning in. The Joy Debate will come back very soon. Stay tuned to Joy 99.7
we could
FM.
do pink sheets, you know.
And we could try doing pink sheets. Over to you, Koko Mlimli, and we will have a nice evening over here. Thank you very much. Over and out.